Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Paul, and today we're taking a look at the Sofirn SR12 EDC flashlight. First of all, quick thank you to Sofirn for sending this along. They provided this for review consideration, however they did not provide any monetary compensation, nor do they have any input into my thoughts, the output of the review, or have any early access to the video. But they did provide this, I didn't have to pay for it, and I try and keep that in mind when reviewing it, just because there is a bit of a disconnect from the value proposition and the light itself, naturally. Now, jumping on into it, let's go ahead and take a look at a size comparison with our channel staples, a 91mm and 58mm Simon knife thicknesses. And as we are in the realm of torches, let's go ahead and get a AAA and a AA. And I know some of you are just here for the girth comparison. And since it is an 18650 light, let's go ahead and get a look at that. And now into the design overview. So we have a single button operation with a built-in LED indicator. Some nice knurling along the body that provides actually a lot of grip. This is fairly aggressive whilst not being irritating. I think this is walking the line quite fairly. This is just rough enough that you can get a good grip, but not rough enough to tear up your hand. We do have a deep carry style clip that is an S-bend, so you can mount this onto a cap. In terms of mounting onto a cap, this is small enough and light enough that it does work. Being a thrower, I wouldn't necessarily jump to throw this on a hat, but I did test it out. It does work quite well. Coming around to the front, we do have some crenulations. Now, crenulations obviously have the primary association with a lot of people for self-defense purposes, and they do increase, striking impact by reducing the amount of surface area you're contacting with. However, in this case, they're fairly mild. I would consider this more just a way for you to know if you've left the light on rather than anything else. Although this does protrude from the hand, clearing the meat of the hand well enough that if you were in such a situation, you could use it as a striking movement should you need to. We do have a nice flat base for tail standing to illuminate a room quite nicely, and that is a magnetic base, of course, so you can stick it to any ferrous surface. And then in the tail we also have a nice lanyard hole that's quite unobtrusive, relatively speaking. Our battery orientation indicator. The tail cap spins independent of the clip, which is something I like, because when you have lights that are the clip on the tail cap, it can be a little bit annoying. This is the included 18650, 3000 milliamp hours. And this is USB-C rechargeable with a rubber boot cover. You see it back here. As far as rubber boots go, this is the double-edged sword of being pretty secure, which obviously also means that it is then a bit of a bore to get it back in, tucked in all the edges, nice and perfectly to maximize your protection. Rubber boots are a bit of a necessary evil in a lot of cases. I obviously recognize that if you have a USB-C port for convenience, then you're going to need to protect it. However, rubber is going to deteriorate. The nature of something that can catch and then get yanked off. These are never, if you're going to use a light for a prolonged period of time, these are never going to stay in the exact condition, and a lot of the time they are going to come off. So don't rely on it, and they can be a little bit annoying, but in this case it's not too bad. Again, necessary evil. Swinging around to the optics, we have a single emitter with a nice smooth reflector, and if memory serves, I do believe we have a glow ring as well. That is super hard to see. Let's supercharge this. There you go, and you can just about see under the studio lights that you do have a glow gasket there as well. So that's it for the design review. Let's go ahead and jump into runtimes, brightnesses and whatnot before we get into the UI. As always, feel free to pause if you would rather read rather than have me dictate this. And just for reference, it is an IP68 rating for water and dust resistance. Now, coming in at moonlight mode, we're going to get an output of 1 lumen, and that is going to run for 480 hours, 10 lumens for 120, 100 lumens at low for 15 hours, medium is going to be 5 hours 10 minutes, high is going to be 800 lumens before stepping down to 720, that's going to be 5 minutes and then stepping down into 1 hour 55, and turbo is 1450 lumens for 1.5 minutes before stepping down into 720 for a further hour and a half. Strobe is going to be, of course, at that full 1450 lumens. Now, going on into the UI, standard UI by all things considered, especially for Sofirn. From off, if we press and hold, we're going to get into moonlight mode, and then just if you were to just press from off without holding, you'd get into memorized mode. So low, medium, high, whatever, you do not memorize turbo at any point. Press and hold to change. So that is going to be your eco mode, low, medium, high, double step into turbo. And then if you want to get into strobe, that's just going to be 3 clicks. That works from both off and on. So this is a strobe warning. Yeah. And then we have a lockout mode, which is 4 clicks. And then you'll just get a flash indicating that's not going to turn on. 4 clicks to unlock again. And then whilst it's on, if you actually do 4 clicks, that will change it from stepped mode to ramping mode, so you can get a much finer dial in of your brightness that you want. Personally, a lot of the time I prefer stepped, but for convenience of speed, really. If you want to really dial it in, then ramped mode is actually very nice. Again, just switching back is 4 clicks. Nice and easy. Now you can also manually unlock it just with a very partial turn, so you're not going to get it draining through parasitic drain, and you're not going to get any accidental turn-ons or disconnecting of the digital lockout. Now let's go ahead and jump into the pros of the SR12. Now first of all, this is a thrower style light, however, and there will be beam shots up here. However, there is enough spill around the hotspot that you can still comfortably use this as a walking light. You can illuminate enough in front of your feet whilst still, not blinding yourself by shining a hotspot. In terms of thrower performance, it's actually pretty good. I took this on a nighttime delivery, and I would normally use a Javelot Mini for that, which is fantastic. This did a good enough job. It obviously wasn't as super focused as the Javelot Mini just because of the optics, but it was a well-rounded light, and considering that it's much more EDC friendly and pocketable than the Javelot Mini, it did really well. I'm really happy with the performance of this light. Comes in at around 35-ish pounds or dollars. You can get it cheaper, and if on the day of release you check the description box, there should actually be a coupon code for 10% off. Again, the times and dates that's applicable will be in the description box. I like a lot about this light. I like a flat base, I like a magnetic tail, I like that this is a decently deep clip. Again, it's not going to be perfectly deep, you can have some sticking out, but that's just par for the course with a lot of lights. You have the option of sticking it on the brim of your cap. For an EDC thrower, this feels like a very well-balanced, practical option. There's nothing really about this light that I look at and I think, this is really bad, this is egregious, it could have been better. And in going into the negatives, that's really what this is about, right? There's nothing about this light in particular that I can point at and go, hey, this sucks. This is a thrower. If you don't need a thrower, don't buy a thrower. For most people, a more flood-orientated flashlight, torch, whatever you want to call it, is going to be more appropriate. That's just how types of flashlights work, right? Throwing is a little bit more niche, but this is well-rounded enough that you could carry this without having to carry a dedicated flood on your person, right? I could not say that about something like the Baton Turbo, which is a thrower, but it's way more focused. You don't get quite as much spill out of it as this guy. Same thing with Javelot Mini, right? I don't carry just a Javelot Mini, I carry Javelot Mini and then a couple of other lights with different beam patterns, just because that's a more well-rounded approach. I don't like rubber boots. Necessary evil. This one is the good kind because it's secure, but it's the bad kind because you have to tuck it in a lot. But it's USB-C. That's convenient. Right? You don't need a proprietary cable. You don't need to necessarily even carry a cable around with you because USB-C at this point is fairly ubiquitous. You can find it in a lot of places. This is just a really solid light. Now, it might not be the most interesting to a lot of people. If you're looking for novelty factor, obviously this isn't it, right? You might be able to get in this in different colors. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. But there's no funky UI. There's no weird way of interacting with it button or dial wise. Dials have made a comeback for some reason. It's just a really solid light. And if you're looking for a well-balanced EDC thrower, I strongly recommend the Sofirn SR12. As with a lot of Sofirn lights, whilst I do get review samples, honestly, I don't think I've ever come across a Sofirn light on my table that I have had anything really negative to say about. Overall, they do really good stuff. So that's just what I think. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think of the SR12 or Sofirn lights in general. Again, on the day of release, there should be a coupon code for 10% off down there as well on the Sofirn store, as well as links to where you can purchase this light. I'd also appreciate if you could hit subscribe and like. We say it a lot, it does help the channel grow. We do greatly appreciate it, and it makes me feel good inside. So, I've been Paul, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.